Good morning. My name is Dr. Debbie Palmer, and I'm the author of the award-winning book, Mindful Beauty. I want to thank Llewellyn for having me here today at their first LlewellynCon. I'm so excited to be here. Mindfulness is the topic of my book because I found it to be so important in my own life and in the lives of my patients. I'm going to be speaking with you today about how it affects happiness. It's easy these days to become distracted. There always seems to be a handful of things needing our attention at any given moment. Being pulled in too many directions can increase our stress and anxiety, though. It doesn't allow us to devote our full attention to any one thing. Mindfulness is a way that you can make sense of the chaos around you. It's a way that you can train your mind to focus on only one thing at a time, shutting out all the other things that need to be done around you. You can practice mindfulness while doing pretty much anything, as you keep your eyes open and your attention focused. You can do it while eating, while walking outdoors, while working, or while spending time with your family. Mindfulness involves the use of your senses to focus your sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch. Sometimes you don't use all of your senses. But when you're walking in nature, it's like a good time to do that. So what I like to do is take all of the things and focus them. You can practice it by use of with your senses or without. So the benefits of mindfulness are really powerful when it comes to your health and well-being. Studies have shown that those who are mindful are more focused, they have less stress, fewer negative thoughts, lower blood pressure, risk of heart disease, reduced depression, and an improved immune system. They also have better sleep and improved longevity. Studies have also shown that mindfulness increases the density of brain tissue and it boosts your brain activity. It strengthens the areas of the brain responsible for self-control and resilience to sets of challenges. Those who are mindful become happier, living in the moment, and more appreciative of life overall. The small pleasures in life become more apparent, helping one to become more grateful for them. There's so much beauty around us, and we often take these things for granted as we rush through our days. Mindfulness encourages you to slow down and truly savor the little things, which you'll come to realize are the big things. That's why in Mindful Beauty, I wrote about mindfulness, including the habits of happy, mindful people, which I'm going to talk about next. I know when you put these tips into practice in your own life, you're going to enjoy being more mindful as much as I do. So, what are the secrets of happy, mindful people? It turns out there are some consistent habits that are seen. When you hear these habits, don't feel like you have to put all of them into practice at once. See what resonates with you and try to do it first, just a few. Gradually, you can add others. So the first habit is to incorporate mindfulness into the everyday. Be in the moment in whatever you do. Try to block out thoughts of tomorrow. Life is now. As Albert Einstein once said, I never think of the future, it comes soon enough. I know this is sometimes easier said than done, but training yourself to be more mindful will help. Once you start doing it more often, it becomes easier and more second nature. Take time out for the everyday to give thanks. Be thankful for life, for family and friends, for health. Taking a moment every day for thanks is mindfulness. It's choosing to focus on the good in your life, which boosts happiness. Limit your daily news intake, especially before bed. We've all been absorbing a lot of news lately. While it's important to stay informed, trigger anxiety. Try avoid media at least a few hours before going to bed. You can find yourself less stressed and sleeping more soundly. Write yourself little notes of motivational sayings or quotes and place them in areas where you'll see them throughout the day. They can be uplifting or they can give you a friendly reminder to take a moment of mindfulness or even a few deep breaths. Take time to nourish the relationships that matter. Happy, mindful people know the importance of healthy relationships, and they feel the emotional and physical benefits. Studies have shown that people with healthy relationships have a more positive view of life and are less stressed overall. All the recent events have made us realize how important relationships are in our lives. Focusing on the relationships that matter, even if we can't connect with them in person, can really boost happiness. Zoom calls, birthday drive-by celebrations, regular FaceTime calls, or even just talking on the phone are important ways to stay connected. What's interesting is that research also shows that when we connect with others who are important with us, we have a stronger immune system, decreased health issues like heart disease, and increased longevity. In fact, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh found that just the act of hugging someone can boost your health. Keep in mind that pets count too. Pets like a dog, a cat, or other pet you have help bring happiness because they provide meaningful social support. Studies show that the bond between people and animals can benefit our emotional and physical health. Pets can also remind us to be more mindful and to live in the moment, because that's what they do. Psychologists have found that pet owners have higher self-esteem, feel less lonely, and are more socially outgoing. All factors that can make someone feel happier. I know personally that my family's 2 dogs, Mick and Minnie, have brought my family so much love and happiness. Make daily movement a priority also. One thing pets do for us is they force us to get out, especially the dogs. If you don't have a dog, put daily movement like walking on your schedule. Moving consistently can be walking or biking or dancing or whatever you love to do. Has been shown in study after study to mimic the effects of antidepressants on the brain. When you exercise, the body releases endorphins, chemicals that make you feel good. Regular exercise has also been shown to improve sleep. Schedule relaxation time. Just as you have to schedule time to get up and move, you also need relaxation time. The happiest people are those who take regular mindful breaks from daily stress, whether it be meditation, yoga, or reading. Taking a pause from the daily grind will make you feel more in control of your life and help you feel more positive overall. If you make your relaxation time mindful, you'll gain even more benefits. Change the lens through which you see the world and other people. Sometimes it's easy to get stuck with thought patterns that are critical of others. Similar to when our mind wanders when we meditate and we bring our thoughts back to our mantra, you have to bring your mind back to acceptance of others when you want to be critical. This is being mindful of your relationships. By being accepting of others' differences, you'll achieve peace and happiness and reduce the negativity in your life. Recognize what's important to you and devote time to it. There are so many things that bring happiness that we don't do because we tell ourselves we don't have the time. If you like to paint or dance or do puzzles or whatever it is, carve out time to do it at least once a week, or even more. When you're focused on something you love, you don't need to practice being mindful. It comes naturally. Life is short, and the happiest, most mindful people know that indulging in what's important helps them keep their spirits up. Be grateful for the things in your life that are going well, even if you think they're small. The morning sunrise, a greeting from a pet, or a hot morning cup of coffee. We can be grateful for all these things. Big victories and events shouldn't be the focus in life. It's the small pleasures around us every day that we should also be finding joy in. Consciously make an effort to change your outlook. Force yourself to smile even if you don't feel like it. And appreciate your blessings even if the day isn't going great. Create a list if you have to every day of the 5 things in your life that bring you happiness. Doing so will change your outlook for the better. Reframe your mindset. We all have an underlying pattern of thoughts that plays over and over in our minds. These thoughts can be distracting and draining to our energy. Become aware of them and direct them in a more positive way. If you focus on the last negative thing that bothered you, it can ruin your day. By stopping the repetitive thought patterns, you can move on without the added stress. There will be things that happen that challenge you, but decide to keep a good attitude. Put social media in perspective. Bad days happen to everyone, even if it doesn't seem that way on Facebook or Instagram. Social media today can sometimes make it look like everyone has a better life than you, but that's only how it seems. So be careful not to judge your day or your life by how it compares to someone else's. Find time to help someone else. There are so many opportunities to give of yourself, such as helping an elderly neighbor, volunteering your time, or just calling someone you know to see if they need anything. This act of helping others has been shown in studies to protect against feelings of anxiety and depression. Connect with your spiritual side. Spirituality gives you a sense that there's something greater in this world than just you. This is a humbling way to think, and it seems to help people better accept the not-so-great things that happen in life. Cultivating spirituality has also been shown to be good for your health. It can help you reduce depression and nurture hope. Indulge in music and art. Take time for creative hobbies like art, music, and dance. They offer an outlet for expression and for your soul to speak. Taking this out of the stresses of day-to-day is uplifting our spirit. There's a reason these types of creative classes are offered to patients and caregivers in healthcare facilities today. They're a creative way to express what someone's going through. Studies have shown that the result is faster healing in patients and reduced stress and depression in caregivers. Resent less. Forgiveness, as many researchers have found, is also good for your health. It's been shown to improve sleep quality, heart health, stress levels, and anxiety and depression. Do your health a favor, forgive, and add more peace and happiness to your life. Don't only focus on the outer purpose or career, but also on your inner purpose and consciousness. Your journey in life has both an outer purpose to reach a goal and an inner purpose, the journey into yourself. They're both entwined and essential for your overall health and happiness. Mindfulness can benefit both aspects of your journey in life. Show kindness, compassion, and generosity to others. It's contagious and just feels good. It may also be hardwired in our brains to be giving. Neuroscientists at the National Institutes of Health found that we have circuits in our brain that regulate empathy and the desire to help others. The areas of the brain involved give off a pleasurable response, as well as providing feel-good brain chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine once we act on these kind impulses. Kindness seems to benefit everyone involved. Well, I hope that you enjoyed these mindful habits. You'll find each of these tips on the pages of Mindful Beauty. Take time to include them into your life, and you'll be encouraging the happy, mindful person inside of you to bloom. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, we're going to open it up. If anyone has anything with habits, things that help them. You know, I find mindfulness. I have a question here about quick tricks for looping worries or negative thoughts. I find recognizing them, kind of like when we meditate, recognize those thoughts, acknowledge them, and then push them aside. Once you acknowledge that pattern, you can change it. Yes, and I find, I have a question here, how do you think that these affect children? I find that the mindfulness also really benefits the kiddos. So I bring points out for the kids to pay attention to. So if we're walking outside, I'll point out, we walked by a lilac tree, and I said, wow, do you smell that? Or do you feel the wind on your skin? Can you feel how warm it is today? So I point those out even to my own children to make them more mindful of going through life and what's happening. I think that's important, and you teach them mindfulness at a young age. Oh, and someone's acknowledging that that they have animals their entire life and that they're great therapy. They really are. There's so many studies. Study after study shows how the animals help us. They really are amazing. Yeah, this is a good question too. How can you be mindful if you've gone through cancer and you're worried about having a recurrence? You know, I think living in the now is key. So we all go through difficulties in life. It's a bumpy road, and focusing on the current moment, the now, not thinking about what happened in the past, not thinking about tomorrow, just literally living in the now and being ever present helps block out some of the negative things, but it also makes you live a fuller life in the moment. Yes, and someone's bringing up a great point. I also believe it's important to love yourself. I think that's key. I think we have to love ourselves and feel whole in order to show that love to others also. I so agree. That's a great point. Well, thank you. I really appreciate everyone tuning in today. These are great comments, and I appreciate you being here. Oh, here's another great question. How can you condition and trained to be mindful. So I think it's practice. It's like meditation. So when we meditate, at first it's more difficult, and thoughts keep coming in. Maybe we're thinking about what we have to do that day. And you have to, be understanding and gently push the thoughts aside. Acknowledge them, push them aside in order to meditate. And I find mindfulness is the same way. So if you catch yourself doing the to-do list, worrying about what's happening later on that day, thinking about what happened yesterday or what happened in the past, gently and lovingly remind yourself, I'm living in this moment right now. I'm handling what's happening currently, right now. I think with practice, it becomes easier. Along with meditation, it was the same way with me. At first, it was hard to sit down without having thoughts come in, that inner chatter. And the more practice I had, the easier it became. So I think practice is key. Yes, there are good points about being mindful. Yes. Um, here's another question. How do you balance planning for the future, uh, both negative and positive events, and still living in the moment? Yes, absolutely. So there's certain things in the future that we do have to plan for. It's, yeah, but it is when we are planning for those certain things, like let's say we're putting certain things in our calendar, we still are living in the now. You're focusing on that task of your planning, so they are being done, but it's not where we're continually thinking about the future, or putting some negativity that we're worried about in the future into a loop. So you do address the future, absolutely, but not internalizing it, putting it into a loop where it becomes a constant thing. Yes, and someone's bringing up a great point, that they want to share that they also had two recurrences of cancer, and they used positive thinking to really help themselves. I think that's a really good topic to bring up. So there have been studies showing that if you keep a positive mindset, if you meditate, if you keep a positive attitude, it affects your healing. So that's amazing data. So it's really important to keep the love, keep the hope, and keep a really good attitude. And it actually has been documented to help healing. Even having the love around you, the support, and like the animals that we talked about, they really help us heal. So keep that positive feeling. It's so important. Right. They're saying don't sweat the small stuff. Right. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Um, the old saying, it's not what it happens to you, it's how you handle it. So the small stuff in life, try not to get you down. Yeah, this is also true. How do you stay? This is a good question. How do you stay mindful when dealing with negative family members? It's sometimes you're able to point out to the family member their negativity. Sometimes you're able to help them, but sometimes you're not. So at that point, maybe you have to limit contact, or be very tolerant of that behavior because you know. So it's an individual thing, but it's a challenge. Yeah, it's a really good question. We don't have a lot of control over others, so it's how we handle things, and how we address things. So it's important for us to maintain our positivity and to not be drawn into that. Thank you for all of these questions. I love the conversation. Yeah, this is a good question. How do you stay focused when there's a dozen things going on? So I am busy also with work and kids, family, and I find with time, I have more focus. So um, when there are a lot of things going on, I tend to put all my energy into one thing. So it's like a laser focus. So you're being mindful on the thing that you're doing because it's so easy. There's so much going on. If I'm talking on the phone, there could be emails and texts and kids asking questions. There's so much going on. So I try my best to do one thing at a time, to be mindful of it, put my attention onto it, and then go on to the next task. And I find it's more effective that way also. The attention isn't divided. You can just do one thing at a time and pour all of yourself into it. I do. Here's a good point. They're asking, do you think journal writing helps? Absolutely, absolutely. I do think it helps. There's so much that comes from that. Getting our thoughts, our feelings, getting them out. You're able to also reflect on things. Maybe you didn't catch at the moment. So I think journal writing is so important. Someone is saying, I tend to get sucked in so quickly to other people's issues. How can I stop that? You know, I I think it's nice to be caring and to reach out and want to help other people. I think that's amazing. Um, if there's a point where it is not healthy, if it's all consuming, I think that generosity and helping is key though, and that's so important to being a human being to have that empathy and to feel for others. But we can't do it to a point where it compromises ourselves, of course. So I say keep helping others. It's amazing. Just make sure that you stay healthy through the whole process. Yeah, someone's commenting here, and they never liked the concept of multitasking, or what are my thoughts? Yeah, I'm not a big fan of multitasking either. I really try to do my best at the thing that I'm putting my attention on at the moment. So I'm also not a big fan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is good. So, um, if you're in a tense moment and you're already upset and angry, and how can you be mindful in that time and pull yourself back? I am a big fan of breathing technique. So, if you're in that moment where you're angry or you're frustrated, take some time to do some deep breathing. And this can be done anywhere, whether you're standing in the line at the grocery store or you're in a traffic jam in your car. Take that deep diaphragmatic breath and repeat it very slowly and then release. And you can even picture releasing the tension into the earth. You can say, I'm exhaling everything that's stressful, the anger right now, and put it back into the earth. Um, the earth can process it, it can handle it. Um, Release that. And I find by taking a few breaths, I feel so much calmer. And so you can be mindful or you can be helpful in that moment um, to recompose yourself. Yeah, this is a good point that someone's saying. Do you think that practicing being mindful of yourself will make you better at being uh, differentiated between other people's energy and um, preventing yourself from being pulled into negative stuff? I think because if you're in a situation that's negative, if you're mindful, you're paying attention to that. You know the situation that you're in. So I think mindful is so beneficial being mindful at that moment. Because if you weren't mindful, you wouldn't understand what was happening. You could get sucked into the anger or the negativity. because you weren't paying attention to what was happening. So if you're mindful of that moment, you'll recognize it sooner. I think that's a great question. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Just, thinking about the insight on that. Yeah, I think the breathing and taking a step back from a situation, if there is a negative situation, if you can pause, take a breath, and take a step back without getting right into the situation, it's a calming way to handle it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, someone is asking, do you think it helps in dermatology? Absolutely. So, by being mindful, you have all those health benefits that we talked about. I mean, it is powerful. It's amazing all the things that can come from just being mindful. So that when you're affecting your longevity, you're affecting your health, you're affecting your stress levels, all of that affects the skin because we are one unit. We don't have individual systems in our body. Everything. So if you are stressed, everything, all of our organs are stressed, but also our skin. It's our largest organ. So everything is affected by this. So yes, mindfulness does affect the skin. So someone's asking, what do you think of social media? Um, and especially now when we're going through the pandemic. I think it's another modality for people to reach out. If someone's not comfortable with the FaceTime, if someone's not, the email isn't enough, maybe they don't want to chat on the phone. It's just another modality to keep us all together. So I think it's nice to have friends and to communicate and to reach out in all different ways. Yes, someone's asking about talking about gratefulness. Gratefulness is so important. There have been study after study showing the benefits of being grateful. When you're grateful, you are acknowledging something larger in this world. It's a humbling thing. Um, you're taking yourself out of just your interest and getting a more global view. So gratefulness is so important. It has health benefits. It has studies showing the health benefits, and it's a humbling way to live. So all really good questions. It's a really nice conversation today. I'm really enjoying this. Oh, someone's saying that social media has been negative lately. Used to be fun, but they're afraid, to see what's going on next. I think we have to choose in social media what to look at, who are our friends. You can limit your friends. You can use it as a great tool to reach out. I know, of course, there's negativity out there also, but you can choose what to focus on. So if you find certain people have a lot of negative posts, maybe that's not your closest friend. Or if it is your closest friend, you can talk to them. But I think there's a lot of positive that could come out of it too. It's how you use it, and it's who you associate with. This is great. I love how involved everyone is. Also, I'm seeing we're about out of time. So I wanted to thank everyone for watching, and thank you for reaching out with the questions. Oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, someone's saying here that they took their feed in the social media and they stopped reading, like the negative things. They just associate with their colleagues, their friends, and their family, and it made an amazing difference. That's a great point. Oh, thank you. Thank you for these nice comments. It's amazing. Yes, thank you, everyone.